Oh my God, I can't. We can't. Okay, stop.
Okay, welcome to the channel. I'm Jason.
I'm TC.
And this is the third party podcast, the third party conversation where we discuss the power of the American people and how it is wielded through the lens of representation. And I think we'll take a minute to just kind of talk about why we feel like we need to do this.
I'd say it's because I'm really dissatisfied with this two-party system. We need a third party, but unfortunately the way the system is set up, the two parties involved have got all the power and they will not allow a third party to become established because it would dilute their power, and it bases. And because it's just those two, we, the people, are not allowed to have real representation. None of, okay, not necessarily none. There are a few reps out there that are actually representing us, but I am not happy with ours, and I think that they're beholden to their corporate masters, and they definitely, I keep writing my representative, and I do not get a response. So he's not representing me.
I hear you.
So that's basically it in a nutshell. Our representatives are not representing us, and perhaps the answer is ranked choice voting, which would enable a third party to become established, but the way the system is set up, we can't.
Yeah, that's a fact. I think for me, I'm an entrepreneur and a businessman, and one of my business partners asked me one time, about 5 years ago, if you could pick any one thing that you could change in the government, what would it be? And I think he was expecting get money out of politics or and my response was, we need a third party. The history of the parties isn't like or at least like what I thought. I kind of grew up believing that we were kind of always a two-party system. And, that's not exactly correct. But what I didn't know was a lot of the history about, how our forefathers felt about it. I think that the big argument against a third party is people being hired for the job by a plurality and not by a majority. But, we already do that. That already happens in the system that we have with the Electoral College. People get hired by plurality. And for my part, it doesn't really bother me. We live in this populist economy now where it's an attention economy. And, it doesn't really bother me that these people would be hired and fired by a plurality. What I would like to see is Congress to pass bipartisan legislation. And I feel like along the way, as our system has evolved, we've kind of narrowed it down, maybe for the sake of efficiency or whatever else, whatever the argument was at the time. We've honed our system down to basically 545 people that represent 330 million. I mean, you got 435 House representatives, you got 100 senators, 9 Supreme Court justices, and 1 president. Those are the people that can affect the law.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the people that are representing 330 million of us. And they've kind of turned our politics into a spectator sport, And that's not how it's supposed to be. I think that we need to remember that these people are employees. They're W-2 wage earners. They're high-priced, high-powered employees, but they are employees nonetheless. And we hire them and fire them by popularity contest of all things. But it's mostly because there's not really a better way. And for my part, you hear people say, we're not going back, but I think we need to go back, not to a time, but to a place, a fork in the road where we made poor choices. And, we need to go back and correct some of those things. And that's a lot about what we're going to talk about. And of course, the problem with all of this is that it's very difficult to get a person to understand a thing if their career depends on them not understanding it. So,
their job, I'm not sure it's a career.
Okay, their job depends on them not understanding it. So, this is a difficult conversation to have. I don't know I believe it is the solution. I think all of us would feel more represented if there were more parties that had more platforms to choose from. I myself am an independent voter. I consider myself an independent voter. I don't consider myself to be a part of either party. As a business owner, I look for good ideas. You never know where a good idea is going to come from. It could come out of the mouth of a child. It could come out of the mouth of an elderly person. But I don't think the two-party system represents our population. It represents small portions of our population, which at this point are mostly people with money. And and I don't think it took us a long time to get here, and I don't think it's something that we can fix overnight. I think another huge problem for me is that I see really big realistic problems that we're going to have, not just as a country, but as a species. And we're not talking about any of that because we're talking about BS popular stuff. And, that's not great representation. It's not great representation when you hire people and send them to the job because they're the people in the room. It's like, and we'll talk about, some of our obligations, but these people, we're sending them to do this job. They're the people in the room, and they're the ones having the discussions, and that's why we offer them the power to make the decisions. But we don't seem to be talking about a whole lot of stuff that is really that I think is really important coming down the pike.
And for me, I don't want to do this.
Correct. That's the other thing.
I don't want to be here. I'd rather be home right now, fat, dumb, and happy, watching something on TV or watching a softball game or working, sitting on a boat fishing and having a beer.
Correct.
But we're kind of driven to do this because we don't see our government and our reps doing what we need to do, what we want them to do.
You and I arrive at the same place on that, but for different reasons. I'm considerably younger than you. I'm not retired.
Hey.
Maybe not considerably younger, but I'm younger enough that I'm still out there trying to make it happen. And, I don't really have time to be doing this. I'm a full-time employee, plus I'm a full-time developer of a brand. It's a very complicated situation. And I wish all of us should pay attention to what our employees in Washington are doing. But I don't think we should have to spend this much time paying attention to them. I think it should be a much more smooth process than what we're having to do here.
A rep responding to the needs of their constituents.
Exactly. So I think those are the obvious reasons for us. We don't exactly know what's gonna come of all of this. Both of us kind of decided.
Well, he decided. I just went along.
Is that? I wasn't sure. Anyway, I guess I decided, but
I can be a follower sometimes.
I think in conversation we came to a conclusion that, if 20 people see this and it inspires one person to emulate it, and then that gets repeated, there's a lot of power in that. There's a lot of voice in that. And I'm not speaking against going out to public places and protesting and doing all this. I think that's great. It needs to happen. People need to hear, people in Washington need to hear the voice of the people. But we live in a digital age, and there's other ways to flood the zone that, are useful as well. And, you can get done pretty quickly and efficiently. I don't know what you should expect from this. We're gonna talk about a lot of different subjects.
I'll tell you what you can expect from this is him talking a lot.
Well, you certainly can expect that.
Actually, I'm fascinated by how his mind works and how he arrives at certain things. And so, to me, I'm listening and I'll throw stuff in, but I see by the ticker we're at 12 minutes into this.
That's great.
And
That's
if we
perfect.
Still have people listening, thank you very much.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Why don't you end this?
Yeah.
Go to your ending.
Yeah, let's. I'll wrap it up with this quote.
George Washington.
Yeah, George Washington quote. However political parties may now and then answer popular ends, they are likely, in the course of time and things, to become potent engines by which cunning, ambitious, and unprincipled men will be enabled to subvert the power of the people and usurp for themselves the reins of government, destroying afterwards the very engines which have lifted them to unjust dominion. George Washington wrote that in 1797, and you'd think it was Nostradamus. But, that is an example of good representation. And I hope we can, maybe end our videos with other examples. Mm-hmm. The videos will probably be like this, probably be in the car. It's a quick, easy way for us to do it, so you can expect that much. And like, share, do all the stuff that you're supposed to do on a YouTube channel. And let's see where this goes, and we'll be back next week and talk about some other stuff.
Same time, same bat channel.
I don't know.
Do you know that one?
Yeah, I'm that old. All right. Thanks for watching.